Now we're in the curriculums. This is where it gets pretty beefy and pretty robust. Appendix A is the curriculum to get your Class A. Appendix B is to get your Class B. We're adding more and more to Trucking Wins all the time. And one of my to-do lists is to go through all the licensing requirements so someone can understand what is an A versus a B versus a C. What are the different endorsements? How do you get them? How do you keep them, etc.? So then even if you get endorsements, you need to go through a training curriculum. And LCV is longer combination vehicles. That's like a double bottom or a triple bottom, right? You don't see those a lot in every state. What we're going to do for the rest of this discussion or training is we're going to go through Class A. What is the curriculum? All right. A curriculum is made up of theory. Theory is classroom in person with a state licensed instructor if the state requires it, or it's online training. Behind the wheel range parking lot, behind the wheel range public road. Theory instruction upgrade curriculum. If you have a Class B and you want to move to an A, they don't make you go through all of it. They've shortened it a little bit to jump from one CDL to another. But to get it brand new, you're not going to use the upgrade. You're going to use the full curriculum. Now let's talk about this. Okay, this is crazy, kind of, right? Before, I told you there were 4 items: hours of service, driver qualification, driver wellness, and whistleblower protection. All right. Well, I see right here, here's whistleblower protection. So there's one of the 4 we currently have. Wellness right here, that's the second one, but they've added fatigue, right? Hours of service. Let's look in here right here. That's hours of service. And then we had driver qualification, right? Which is right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. There's so many you can't even find the ones that they currently have, but you get it as driver qualification. So now we go through these different areas. Starting in 13 days, you have to have classroom instruction on an orientation to trucking, your control systems dashboard, pre and post trip inspection, controlling the vehicle, shifting, operating, backing and docking, coupling and uncoupling, your visual search, your communication, cell phone use like distracted driving or eating food, space management some more, night operation, extreme driving, hazard, skid, railroad, malfunctions of your truck, roadside inspections, maintenance, cargo, environmental, that's like OSHA. Then we have hours of service and fatigue and wellness. Post-crash, that's kind of drug testing. And Derek, you get that with the post-accident drug testing requirements. Communications to, outside people, dispatchers. Whistleblower and coercion, that's similar to what we had before, but coercion is a new rule that we'll have a training module on as well that talks about shippers and receivers, brokers, motor carriers can't coerce a driver into violating any regulation. Proper trip planning, which the split sleeper that I do can play a role in that. And then drug and alcohol and medical. Some would say, well, now, John, that they have this curriculum for new drivers, why do we need Trucking Wins? Well, I'll tell you, because there's a lot more in Trucking Wins than the theory you're going to get here. This is more operation, where Trucking Wins is a big piece of compliance and how to keep the government off of your back, improve your CSA scores, pass an audit, stay on top of all that. This is more designed to teach a driver what he needs on a day-to-day. There's going to be no instruction in this theory on how to run a company, right? How a safety director needs to analyze and work through that. But now that all this training gets done, then you're ready to move to behind the wheel range. Question is how long does this need to be? I'll tell you, some entities are going to just pencil whip it, and some of them are going to do an actual robust, legitimate classroom. However, if before you could just get the book, study it, and take the test, that's pretty much free. Who is going to do this for free? Nobody, unless you're a motor carrier setting it up as a recruiting or retention tool, meaning you're going to recruit your own drivers from new. Problem is, insurance, as everybody knows, it's too difficult to hire brand new drivers unless you're paying a lot on insurance. They always want a couple years experience, 23 years or older. So the people that are the trucking companies, the motor carriers are going to have these schools. are generally going to be the big boys, which they're the ones with the schools right now anyway. They're just going to change this. But think of all the drivers that come from overseas. Think of all the drivers that join this industry. The barrier to entry has now been increased. In a time with driver shortage, to increase and make it a little more difficult and more expensive, because these schools aren't going to be free. It makes it a little more difficult. Now, large trucking companies are going to have an advantage recruiting new drivers because they're not going to want to go to a school to get it. Smaller trucking companies could just have them take the test. But large trucking companies can offer this training for free if they hire you. So I think that this is going to hurt a little bit of recruiting and retention of newer drivers to the small company. And then how much is it going to cost? That's a big question, right? How many people are going to say, skip this? I don't want to do all this. Now, when they do behind the wheel range that I finished the theory, you got to go to a parking lot and go through vehicle inspection, pre-trip, post-trip. So that's good, a walk around. You have to demonstrate straight line backing, alley dock backing, offset, parallel parking, and coupling. There is no other real DOT compliance here other than operation and doing a pre-post trip. So vehicle maintenance is some hands-on, but everything else is operating. Same thing goes here. When you're out on the public road, this is all pretty much operating except for hours of service, unsafe driving. So two of our CSA scores, hours of service and unsafe driving, are going to be addressed in the public road portion in a practical sense versus theory that we discussed earlier. Vehicle maintenance is going to be dealt with in the range portion. So now that you've finished all of this, now you'll get a training certificate, and the TPR needs to send that through the TPR website to the state with all of this information. Then and only then are you allowed to go and get your CDL. Did you learn something from that video? Good. Then your next step is to click on the button on your screen. Sign up for a free online event, especially for truckers. Why? Because it's free, and you'll discover how to lower your expenses and increase your profit. Make your company DOT proof. I'll see you there.